These are 10 things that I think are the best pieces of advice that I can give right now for aspiring musicians. And we're just going to jump straight into it. So for number one, I put don't put your self-worth in the hands of others. Some will use it to their advantage and not yours. I've made this mistake before, and that's exactly what it is it's a mistake. Sometimes we don't realize that it's happening until afterwards. But as a musician, a creative industry in general, if you can't see your potential and somebody else can, and you open up to them about your weaknesses or anything like that, and they know how insecure you are, they can use that against you, and they can, use it to stifle your potential and make sure that you never actualize it. And what we need is people around us that uplift us, that understand that validating yourself is the most important thing, and that don't allow you to feed into self-delusions about your self-image and how you feel about yourself if it's negative. Having a great support system in that way is very important to allow your authenticity to flourish and have a safe and supportive space for you to be safe and supportive to yourself. Number two, authenticity will get you further than if you try to be something you're not. I know this from experience. I spent a long time in the first steps of my career being somebody that I wasn't, because I thought that that's what everyone wanted of me, because it worked for other people, so I thought it would work for me too. But what I've found since then is that being myself has gotten me further than anything else, and that's fantastic, because my comfortability with my authenticity is what allows me to keep going without having to take on negative criticisms and things like that, because when you know yourself, nobody can use it against you, and being comfortable with that is really important. I think that the best art comes from authentic self-expression. Number three, take criticism, but don't let it change who you are. I've made music and I've made creations that didn't necessarily land well with my friends. I think that, other people have different taste, and that's okay. I think that having constructive criticism can be really helpful. If your mix isn't right, if your songwriting is just couldn't be as good as it could be. But stylistically, if you're expressing yourself in a way that feels right to you, that you think is cool, that is a priority. And if somebody's coming to you saying no, I don't like this, it's about differentiating personal opinion from constructive criticism. Number four, other people's negative opinions / bullying are just reflections of who they are, not you. There's something so funny about chasing your dreams, and then all of a sudden people will come out of nowhere and start trying to drag you back down again. It's like that bucket of crabs thing. How one crab tries to escape the bucket, and then all of the other crabs pull it back down again, even though they're all stuck in a bucket. So that's no way to live. So it's important to remember that negative opinions and bullying of any kind is not a reflection of who you are. And I think that this can tie into the first point. If you're insecure, if you have low self-esteem, it's important for that to be a separate work in progress, so that you're not taking in and soaking up bullying and negative opinions, because 9 times out of 10 you have something that these people don't have, and they are projecting their pain onto you, and their lives are probably really bad and they don't know how to deal with it. They haven't been given the tools necessary in order to do that. Have empathy. Don't try and help, but have empathy. Don't take it on. Keep moving forward. And this is really important if you're going to be doing work in the public eye or anything like that. It's a projection of who they are and how they feel about themselves. Obviously, always, check yourself. Am I being a bad person? Am I being this or that? Do I want that? But if you're being you and, you're being authentic, you're showing up, with grace, you're being a good person, you don't need to take those sorts of things on. And that's really important if you want to, be being in front of people. Number 5, don't commodify your self-expression. Find joy through exploration and experimentation. It's cool to have a vision. It really is. I think that the most important thing is that we are allowing the universe, allowing life to guide us down the river of intuition and to kind of let go of the expectations. Because if you're gunning towards a specific goal, it's great to have goals. It's great. But what's not great is commodifying your creative expression by thinking this has to be the thing that gets me this goal. Because maybe this thing that you're making is a stepping stone to another thing and to another thing. And then that thing's going to be the thing that gets you to your goal. So it's knowing when to stop and redirect towards where you find joy. And I'm a firm believer in that. I've experienced this also. And I've found that every single time that I've created something out of necessity, out of, wanting to create the thing, it just falls flat and it doesn't, I think the most you will get out of creation will be when you let go and you just find what feels good, you explore, you experiment, you release all of the bounds that you have put around yourself that is restricting you creatively. And just bringing that childlike wonder back into it, is really important. It can take time to be able to do that. Some people it comes naturally, some people it doesn't. It didn't come naturally to me because I grew up being the good drawer. And so, there was an expectation that was placed on me that I took on, that everything that I drew had to be amazing. Otherwise it was bad and people wouldn't like it. And then I didn't get validation, things like that. Unlearning those things so that we can move forward into our creativity with a strong mind of, I'm doing this because it's fun. I'm exploring, I'm experimenting, I'm broadening my palette of everything, right? Number 6, you're always the student and never the master at anything. Stay humble. I think we will never stop learning. Throughout our whole life, we'll always be learning stuff. I remember being told in school that we learned something new every day. And, I challenged that. I was like, I wonder if I do learn something new every day. I did. But, in school, I resisted learning a lot. I wasn't the best student. But, if that carries through into adulthood or whatever, it's like a pride thing. It's an ego thing of, oh, I already know what I'm doing. But then you struggle. There's a bit of it's not all adding up there. You're always the student. Always the student. You're always learning. You are never going to be the master. Even if you are Rick Rubin, you're never the master. Ever. You are always learning. And I think going into music with that mentality allows you to stay away from that prideful, egoic thing where you reach a certain level or you know how to do this and your friend doesn't. It just never works out in your favor. So stay humble. And humility is such an important part of being an aspiring musician. I think that there can be a stereotype about musicians being very egoic and arrogant. Humility is awesome. Humility allows you to enjoy every step of the way without thinking that you need more, without being dissatisfied with your achievements. And it also allows you to enjoy things privately, like this channel. 1 or 2 people know about it. Other than that, this is something that I get to enjoy with you guys. So, yeah, humility can be something that increases your quality of life and the quality of life of others around you, because nobody likes a show off. Obviously celebrate you and be around people who celebrate you also. Number 7, feel the fear and do it anyway. I wouldn't be where I am today if I allowed fear to stop me, because I let fear stop me for a really long time. And it was the most miserable time of my life, because I had made the choice to be a musician, and then I allowed fear to stop me from doing a lot of things. And I don't necessarily look back and regret that, because I'm where I am today, and I am happy with where I'm at. But I'm happy with where I'm at because I took leaps of faith. And I think that, I often bring up this quote, and it's from The Princess Diaries 2. And it's, I forget the lead girlie, but her dad sent her a letter, and in it says, bravery is not the absence of fear, but knowing that something else is more important. It's having that sort of mentality of, I want to follow my dreams, I want to experience this thing, I want to achieve this goal. That is more important than the fear of doing it, the fear of failing, the fear of being laughed at, whatever. It can be a slow process, but as long as you are beelining towards feeling the fear and doing it anyway and practicing it in everyday life, especially in your music career, it will get you far. Number 8, know when to walk away from something. How many times have we been in jobs that we hate, that we can't leave, because how are we going to get money? How are we going to get by? How many times have we stayed in relationships because we're afraid to be alone? How many times have we stayed in friendships because we can't stand the thought of hurting somebody's feelings, even though they hurt us? It's just like with your projects. It doesn't matter if you're writing an album, a song, in a band, anything like that. When it's time to walk away, it's time to walk away. And the next thing you do will be the next step up, I promise. You've learned what you need to learn from that situation, and you can go forth and you can do the next thing. Number 9, know yourself, your darkness, your light, your weaknesses. This will prevent people from using them against you. I feel like that's self-explanatory, but I think that there's a lot about me that I know now that I've come to terms with. I've come to terms with my shadow, my darkness, things that used to be shameful to talk about, I talk about on this channel. And I'm open about it and I'm honest about it because I know what it feels like to not be seen. And I know what it feels like to be, just feel afraid of other people's opinion about who you are. And the reason that I come on here and talk about these things is so that other people don't feel alone in things that can feel extremely shameful, like jealousy. And I think that being open and honest about that sort of thing is healing. It's healing for me, and I'm sure that it's healing for other people that watch my videos as well. So I want you to keep that in mind, that knowing yourself is a really important thing, not just to prevent people from using it against you. It's not just a protection, but loving those parts of you is just as important, and accepting them because you are loving yourself. That love can carry you through dark moments, and it can carry you through the obstacles that you need to get through in order to achieve the things that you want to achieve. And last but not least, number 10, don't engage in competitive behavior. Stay in your lane. Focus on competing with yourself only. If others try to put you in a competition, walk away. I learned this one the hard way. Competitive behavior has been a theme in my life, and it started in my childhood, and it's one of those situations where it happens to you and then it becomes learned behavior, and then you start doing it to other people. But this was repetitive. It took many different friendships throughout my life for me to end up becoming the villain, and that was what broke me and made me make such a big change, because I didn't want to do that. And I remember trying for a really long time over the last couple years, a long time ago now though, thinking, well, okay, competition is normal, right? Like, competitive behavior is normal. But I've come to the conclusion that it's a choice. If competitive behavior works for you, that's cool. If you can do it in a healthy way, that's cool. But if you can't, and somebody's trying to put you in a competition with them or anything like that, you are well within your right to walk away. And I suggest that you do, because it can be so incredibly unhealthy and unhelpful to your career. It can distract you from the things that are actually important in your career. And in the last year or 2 years, if I had engaged in competitive behavior, I wouldn't be where I am today. And, you know, it's just not worth it. I compete with myself, and I want to, you know, set the bar higher for everything that I do. And I'm always just like outpacing myself. And it's so much better to do it that way, because then you're not focused on everybody else and what everybody else is doing and comparing yourself and being put in positions where you are comparing yourself, or being put in positions where you are being compared to somebody else. Although it can be hard, it's really, really not worth the hassle. It's not worth the mental gymnastics. It just sucks. And I think that this is the most important point to make, that staying in your lane is the best thing for you. It's not a race. We're not trying to be better than anyone else. We're trying to be the best that we can be, because there is always going to be somebody better. And you don't even know how long it took me to come to terms with that. But to be able to share that with you, knowing that I do this and that I practice this and that I am evidence of that, I want you to take that advice, and I want you to remember that. And that's all I have. And I really, really hope that this video has helped you. And I'll see you in the next one.